Okay.
Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Researcher Celebrity. Today we have a young, enthusiastic brain with us, which is named by his parents as Rakshith. A brief about Rakshith: he has done his bachelor's in chemistry, botany, zoology from GSS College, Dharwad, Karnataka University. Following, probably looking for the passion, what he wanted to do before committing to masters, he joined Indian Institute for Sciences, IISc Bangalore, for to get the exposure of research. And then presently he's a master student in clinical virology at Manipal Institute of Virology, Karnataka. With this brief introduction, now let's hear and welcome Rakshith. Rakshith, thank you very much, and you're welcome at Researcher Celebrity.
Thank you very much. So thank you very much for this opportunity. Probably based on what I've seen, I guess I'm the youngest person to be featured in this season. I mean, the whole series. So I'm very grateful about that thing, and thanks very much for the opportunity. And I'm really looking forward to, kind of explore a lot of things.
Yes, Rakshith, thank you for the kind words. And yes, you are our youngest, researcher celebrity. And I often describe our name as researcher celebrity, that the idea behind this series is to celebrate research. So let's celebrate research. Makes you researcher celebrity, your passion and enthusiasm, which people will be witnessing in next 40 minutes, because that's how we do our recordings for maintaining the continuity. So the first question, Rakshit, do you think that you want to do research for the rest of your life?
I would, for the time being, I would probably say yes, because the things which I've been through and things which I've seen and my natural tendencies definitely make me continue pursuing research as a career in my life, for sure.
Okay. So now let's start with the journey of what in the first place, how you ended up doing research at IISc, or now presently clinical virology.
Right. So, to begin with, I'll try to narrate my whole story. So, science piqued my interest from a very young age. So, I still remember my father used to hold my hands and he used to take me to some really good science exhibitions at state level and national level things. Like in order to make me curious, in order to make me learn things. So, I used to visit these things and I was really fascinated by all these kind of models and people trying to explain the science behind it. And everything was very exciting. So, in my 10th standard, even I got an Inspire Award to present my own presentation or else to present my own models. So I've spent a lot of my school time enthusiastically involving in such kind of activities. And that also gave me a thrust to pursue my science in the +2 level. So there I got my strong foundations from my professors, teachers, mentors in biological sciences. I was particularly driven towards that. And I used to ask a lot of unconventional questions to my professor, one of my professor, biology, not all, but one of my professor. So he was a PhD at that time. So he really inspired me to go pursue natural sciences and do research in the things. So after my +2, I came to my bachelor's, wherein one particular thing which really, really got into me was a quote or else an explanation by Dr. Richard Feynman. He was saying, like, in one of his lecture, how things work, what makes everything work. So these were the particular lines of him. So that really got my interest again. So I pursued my bachelor's in natural sciences to get a whole understanding of how everything works and how exactly it is, the biological systems, the complex biological systems, right? So that particularly made me interested in involving all kind of research activities, and I started to look into multiple opportunities which are available around me based on what I've learned and how can I explore. So during this time, I got a wonderful opportunity at Manipal Center for Natural Sciences to pursue an internship in evolutionary biology. So in my core, I was always into like medical research, right? But I got into research, I stepped into research through ecology and evolution. So I wonder still, I wonder like how exactly I got into it. But when I turn back and look into that, It's a correcting dot because whatever I'm today, I got a new perspective, a fresh perspective to look at medical issues, medical research from an ecology and evolutionary point of view. So I got to explore a lot of things in my bachelor's. And after my bachelor's, I was interested in a lot of things because I've studied such kind of things, and each and everything in biological sciences interests me. So I wanted to figure out my niche, and I don't wanted to jump into my master's immediately after my bachelor's. So just after my bachelor's, I started to look into internship opportunities wherein I can get exposure to the things which I really, really want to do. And I got a great opportunity at Indian Institute of Science. I must thank my professor who helped me in my internship at my bachelor's, Dr. Vivek Pandey, who is an assistant professor at Manipal Center for Natural Sciences, for mentoring me in all possible ways. And also, I must thank Dr. Sumanto Bakshi at IISc Bangalore for giving me a great opportunity to be, to join his lab and see around things. So I really got to explore a lot of things during my 6 month period at IISc Bangalore. And I finally narrowed down my interest. So I want to do this. So I started to apply for virological masters, which are very limited in India because only few institutes in India offer this because it's a very super specialized program. So finally, I got into Manipal Institute of Virology, which is one of the top institutes in India for virology. So currently, I'm pursuing my clinical virology. So this is my whole story, and this is how I got into research.
So let's start with this. You briefly mentioned about your interest in medical sciences because this still is a conventional, although you have mentioned that you had unconventional questions to your professors,
Yeah,
specifically the biology professor. So the things which goes, at least that is, if you take biology in 11th standard, in India, what is believed that the first thing after your 12th will be PMTs, and then you will
right,
become a doctor.
right,
Still, although like when the world is changing, India is developing and taking new turns, when we are producing one of the best researchers as a pool working in India or abroad. But what made you to not follow that path and join bachelors in all the basic life sciences like chemistry, botany, and zoology?
right. So the most common notion in plus two students is even that's what even the colleges or else teachers try to portray it because what they think is biology is only limited to medical sciences. So there's a lot of biology apart from medical sciences. So this thing we will not be able to get at least in a plus two level. So, but if you genuinely got an interest, if you got a good mentor, that depends on us. Like,
Yeah.
so if you really got a good mentor, then they will show the path. Like the the subject is beyond that. So that thing really got into me because my professor used to always tell medical sciences is one of the vertical of biological sciences because it's purely applied biological sciences. So if you want to understand the crux, the original crux, or the fundamental things, you need to go into you need to go to study natural sciences or else the fundamental sciences. If you study that, then only you'll be able to do things. And also, he even mentioned an old example wherein before 2007, if I'm not wrong, 6 or 7, after pursuing bachelor's in zoology, people used to go and pursue MBBS. Like there was a, kind of lateral entry program which was stopped. So he also told me, like in zoological sciences per se, you'll get to study a lot of medical subjects which are related to medical subjects like anatomy, physiology. And even I had an opportunity even to talk with my friends who are currently pursuing medical sciences. So the practicals which they had and the practicals which I had in my bachelor's, a lot of had a lot of similarities. They used to do some blood related hematology experiments, and I used to do that. So I didn't see a lot of difference in it. Although they might get a license to treat people at the end of their degree, I used to go into research because I've understood the things. So it all depends on like that. That's what I believe. So
No,
this is how I got it.
yeah, so the role of mentor, which you pointed, and that is, I think, is the path which most of us who follow the path is shown by the mentors. Some
Yes.
people are lucky, so you are one of them that you got at the early age, and then you are following, or how I say that always is like you are doing what is making you happy. So you have figured that out, that what makes you happy, because in this present scenario, the entire world, and I'm sure that the audience can correlate with me that at any stage of their career, most of the people don't feel very convicted about what they are doing. And
Right.
that's why when they start talking about work life balance and then job satisfaction, because they are doing things because of n number of reasons and missing this most important part, which is that how happy you are, how passionate or enthusiastic you are every morning to get out of your bed and are happy about it, that okay, I'm going to do some kind of experiments. So when you were doing this the small training at IASC, if you can share the journey of those 6 months, what lessons you took from there, and then how that helped you to take decision that you want to do masters in clinical virology, because masters in virology itself is a specialization, but you wanted to do clinical virology, which says that you were more committed towards your thoughts and had taken enough time to decide.
Right. So, to begin with, the major key takeaway which I learned from Indian Institute of Science internship was to be independent.
Mm-hmm.
Because that 6 month period of time gave me a lot of perspectives about life and how actually research is. Because I was able to see the normal life of PhD students as well as professors very, very closely.
Mm-hmm.
I got an opportunity to interact with a lot of people. I used to see them, how they're performing their experiments, how they're spending their time, from final year PhD students still the recently joined first year PhD students. So how the journey has been, I was really, kind of overwhelmed by the things, or it's the transition which happens in the coming years. So initially, when I came, I was, bit overwhelmed by the environment, because each and every lab has their own kind of specialized area and people are working like different things. So the lab which I joined was purely working on microbial ecology fundamentally. So people were there, and they were trying to like read a lot of things. So initially days, I was like, they were coming morning, they're sitting and just reading the papers. They're just reading, they are noting it down. So this is mostly what people do with their first years. Generally, they try to look the literature, what exactly is there, and trying to figure out the gaps between the topics wherein they can work in, or else their work can contribute in. And also like attending courses. I used to attend courses with students. So even I got to learn things from a different perspectives, because in such kind of institutes, the subjects are taught in a very unconventional way, not like just a professor comes, teaches, and leaves. It's not like that. That's a lot of interaction going on there. So this was one of the things. And when I got to interact with them, I've learned a lot of subjects. I mean, a lot of things apart from subjects, to look at science, the perspective to look at science, and the perspective to look at research, how exactly it happens. So this was the one thing. And people are trying to figure out their own SOPs, their own protocols to design an experiment. This was one of the interesting thing which I got to learn again. Uh, to pursue, to interpret things, to write it down, to jot it down into points, to figure out your own experiments, to design your own experiments, to modify certain kind of protocols wherein the results which you want, you can go and get it by doing such kind of things. And also, the another important thing which I learned from that particular point is, how to write science communication. Because apart from communication, whatever science we do, or else people do, it's of no use if people will not be able to understand. So communication was another important thing, because I used to try to write a lot of reviews and papers. Even I presented one of my paper which I worked during that time in a conference, and it got published ultimately. So this was another important thing, to the importance of science communication and publications, and not in terms of higher level publications which typically occurs in academia, but for a bachelor student who has completed that one, so how exactly it works, so what are the things which are involved in it. So this was another key takeaway thing from me. And firstly, as I mentioned, independent working nature, so that was another important thing, because ultimately as a bachelor student, when I transited into this kind of avenue, I always felt a need for mentor. Although there is a need for mentor, so like I was completely dependent on them for most of the things, not all, but most of the things. But here, I saw people PhD students, the first years or second years, doing some phenomenal things, kind of going and presenting their work, which they have done in the international conference or something like that. So I used to think like, okay, if they're able to do, why not I'm able to do? So even I started to try reading things, try writing things, and then, kind of learning the things, how exactly it does, the dynamics of the whole aspects. So these are the major things which I've learned in that particular thing. I mean, the time. So for virology specifically, as I said, I was from ecology and evolutionary sciences background. I mean, had previous experiences in them. I used to do some statistical modeling, climate predictions, paleoclimate reconstruction, these kind of things, which I got to learn from my previous internship at Manipal Center for Natural Sciences under Dr. Vivek Pandey. So I continued a part of it. I pursued an independent project actually. Along with the things, I was assisting PhD students in their, kind of routine experiments and also learning from them, trying to discuss with them. Along with that, I was also pursuing my own thing, own project, kind of. So that that independent working nature persuaded me to do this, because I initially didn't plan that I didn't even think that I myself is going to do that. So finally, at the end of the day, I was even able to do that, and uh, you know proceed the things with it. So these are the major things which I learned from that point of time. And also in that particular time, I got to meet a lot of people like Nobel laureates. I was able to meet Professor Harold Warmus, who is the pioneer of retroviral oncogenes, and also the person who invented kinesin, I mean, who discovered kinesin molecule, Dr. Ron Whale. So every weekend or else every Wednesday, we used to have an invited lecture from people from abroad come and express the research. We used to talk. So it really helped me for my holistic development, I would say. And that really, kind of helped me to narrow down my interest in virology specifically. Because in climate studies, we used to study about viruses are encapsulated and captured in ices and they're freeze now. So there are a lot of possibilities that due to global warming, the ice might melt, and we can see a lot of diseases which we have never understood previously. So this was the thing which captivated me to pursue into virology. Clinical virology, that's my previous core interest, which I had in medical sciences, to translate the research which is happening in virology into clinical aspects. So that's why I chose clinical virology. This is the whole story.
So now I would like to take this moment to tell all the audience here. Like in India presently, undergrad research is not something which is very, very active, but there are research institutes or even colleges when the mentor or the professors with the limited resource, they have started taking initiative to give the little bit taste of research to the undergrad students. And this can be bachelor's or in master's. But what is more important, like if you're enthusiastic about something, you should learn this from Rakshith. So he know that his questions are unconventional. He got a mentor to tell that there are ways you can get answers for your questions and the power of asking the out of the box question, because that's what research is mostly about. That process A has been reported, developed, and used. Now everyone is using that. That doesn't mean that a person with a different perspective cannot use a process A for totally opposite thing or for something which no one has thought about it. So Rakshit, here I would like to ask you this thing, that when you have seen when you covered the main points which you learned at IASC, these are probably the four pillars of research.
Right.
Being independent, we have seen in India that early faculties, when they just get position, this is the most difficult, issue they face, because you have never been trained for independence. You have been trained for all the science part, all the research part. Okay, so you know how to write papers, you know how to write grants, how to manage this thing. But what about managing human resources, working in a team? When normally when you get a position, so either you have done postdoctoral work or just your thesis, depending where the experience in industry or academia. So now when you have pasted research in the one of the best institutes in India, IISc is the pioneer in itself. It gave you the freedom, or I will say the luxury, to meet those Nobel laureates, which I'm sure when they are in India, not everyone is able to meet them.
Right.
So how do you see research as a student at this point of time? That is this something you want to pursue for your master, after your master's, towards the PhD, or how do you see yourself pursuing research after masters?
Right. So I would start with a general aspect, right? So during my bachelor's, I've seen people who come into science not exactly to pursue science. So people have their own kind of notions and perspectives and their own plans. Most of the people who came to study bachelor's in my UG college, they are mostly into UPSC preparation, like civils or banking exams. They just wanted to get a degree. So we have to respect that. They have their own perspective. They have their own kind of plans. So, but people, I would say, people who are genuinely interested in science will definitely go for higher education because that's the thing which can suffice their interest. So I myself, I've been into science and I was into core science and research. So I'm definitely looking forward to pursue my PhD in the same field or else translational aspect of it. So I'm definitely looking forward for that kind of aspect. If I would say, if you ask me where I will be seeing myself 5 years down the line, I would definitely say, for the time being at least, that I'll be definitely doing a PhD, some uh, good, really good research institutes, I would say. That in the field of virological sciences, basically in clinical virology or else translational virology. But I also have this kind of notion because based on what I've understood, see, in my master's, I'm not exactly like figured out my niche yet in terms of virology, but I'm trying to explore all the different avenues of virology. Say, for example, clinical virology, diagnostic virology, viral immunology. So these kind of aspects. But in India currently, the thrust areas in virology is mostly limited to clinical and diagnostic virology because other areas have been not yet like still people not working on it. And one of the other things is vaccine development. Vaccine biology is currently being involved in a lot of work. So I'm saying this because I even got to meet people who are the pioneers of their field in India. For example, Dr. Professor R.K. Ratho, who is the head of virology department at PGIMR Chandigarh. He was being invited to our institute for a workshop. So I got to discuss with him. Even I got an opportunity to travel with him to Udupi Krishna temple. So I got a lot of things to interact with him at personal level. So he was telling me like there are not too many fields in India virology. I mean, in terms of virology currently. So these are the thrust areas here. If you want to develop something, then whole field is open for you. So if I want to try to connect my previous interests and perspectives, I'm currently willing to kind of do research in evolutionary virological aspects, basically evolutionary viral immunological aspects, because those are the things which are least explored and most important. So these are what my plans are. I'm definitely looking forward to pursue a PhD.
So at this point of time, I can say that you are a brave heart. And not less than any other celebrity in the movie Braveheart. Okay, different versions of it, because committing to PhD, especially when you have seen those people like first year, final year, okay, and then when they have all those sleepless nights. Normally
Right.
at Researcher Celebrity, during have this conversation, we talk about the journey of PhD with the students. So now we are for the first time talking to a person who has not yet, you know, uh, joined it, but already had made plans even after
Right.
seeing them, even after seeing their suffering, because that's what mostly people talk about. In India, PhD, as you mentioned about bachelor's, we have seen people pursuing PhD for the preparation, okay? Like they are preparing for UPSCs or different service commissions and doing PhD, obviously. And I respect this, that the way you said that we should respect everyone's, we don't know whose situation is like what, and what
Right.
are their sources, responsibilities. So, but one thing which is true, that once you have done PhD, it changes your name, B, it changes your personality forever,
Right.
because the training you get in those number of years, that is what which trains you as a human being, as a professional, in the personal, because there are so many things. Now let's talk
Hmm.
about the time management part, because you mentioned about independence, the communications, writing, speaking, expressing words. One thing which we also often come and talk about, the time management, because if you are not clear, and everyone knows that time flows like water, so it's not standing for you. If your experiment takes 5 minutes or 50 minutes or 5 days, those days are going, either you start your experiment or not, or you miss something and then get failed experiment, and then again and again repeating, until unless you are troubleshooting it to the T, that whatever is required has been added, the process has worked finally the way you wanted. So what are your thoughts at this point of time about troubleshooting and time management as a researcher?
Okay, so time actually is a very important factor when it comes to research, based on like at least small things which I have done. So I see like experiment sometimes experiment fails, or else things will not work out as we wanted them to work out. So I definitely think it's a very important kind of thing to manage time, or else to plan accordingly. So for example, if I'm pursuing my master's thesis in a stipulated 6 month period of time, I may not be able to complete all the things. So what I think is, personally, at this point of time, based on just few experiences which I have, I would like to, like, if I were at that place, I would like to accommodate a lot of, I mean, multiple things in the stipulated period of time. That's like, I believe like planning is the key for time management. If we plan accordingly, then that might happen. So this is the thing. Even this is the thing which a lot of people even tell me, because I'm trying to explore, I mean, talk to people abroad, like who are there at their PhD state, doing some really good research, or else pursuing their doctoral degrees in some really good universities across the globe. So I'm trying to write to them and get to know about all the things. So these are the things which even they mention. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
So now
planning is the key. Yeah.
you mentioned about your conversation, your approach to the people who are pursuing research abroad. So I would like to tell all the audience here that Empowering Science Foundation, which is a small initiative by group of researchers to bridge the gap between the passion and the goal. So if you are passionate, if you are more enthusiastic about pursuing research in India or abroad, we have our researcher celebrities as mentors. So researchers celebrities at different stages of their career, starting from PhD students to postdocs, masters, faculty, assistant professors, or scientists in research institutes. So academic or industry setting, if anyone of you who's watching this video is interested, to contact them. So you can see all our videos in the history. And then if you think that you are interested in some of the talks or some of the topic, or interested in the person's profile, so we always ask this thing to our researcher celebrity, that they show the willingness to help our researchers. So even if we have speakers from outside India, they are ready to help. Being Indian nationals or even foreign, like we have at least 7 to 8 different countries speakers. So it can be from Brazil, from USA, from Europe, somewhere. If you want to do something, and you think that you are limited by resources, by contacts, by networking, we are there to help you. So never feel that you are alone, because we are there. But we are there only if you are serious, if you really want to walk that path. Because neither we want to take your precious time away from you, because as I just mentioned to Rakshith, that time is one thing which is not standing for you. It's not waiting. Either you do something or you don't. It just passes. Sun rises, sun goes down, and then again it's the next day. Rakshith, now I would like to ask you this one question that you want to pursue if given choice in India or abroad.
So this is yet another vertical, because yesterday itself I got an opportunity to discuss this kind of aspect with one of my senior who is currently doing her PhD in cell biology. Basically, she is working on neutrophils. She's at Medical University of Graz, Austria, if I'm not wrong. So she was discussing about this because she had experienced both the things. She even cleared net JRF exams in India, and she spent a good 1 year time at different institutes in India. She was at ILS, she was at ISER, and a lot of other institutes. She was trying to figure out like whether that environment is for her or not. And eventually she got an opportunity and she shifted to abroad, like other country, to pursue her research. So I was very much interested in this aspect of her, and I asked her, why did you do that? So what made you to do that? So what she told was, it ultimately boils down to your individual personality or else your kind of environment. Because in India, certain aspects are very rigid, very strict. And the important thing which she mentioned was the limitation of resources, which is not the case outside the country. So it all depends on how exactly it's working. But what she also mentioned was, there are few people, or else there are some labs in India who are doing phenomenal work utilizing those small or else limited resources which they have. And in other institutes, even though they have a lot of resources, they're like not utilizing the potential of those resources to the fullest. So these are the important things which she told. But again, the work nature and the work environment is very, 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 very important. And she was, as for what she mentioned, it's really good outside when compared to India. So I'm still not at that point to decide between these two things. So I might take some more time to explore other aspects, and later I would like to decide. But for the time being, to enrich my personal experiences, because I'm fond of traveling and looking at a lot of places. I want to explore a lot of places. I've already had my list down. I want to see like northern lights at Finland and Norway. So these are my kind of personal notions which I want to explore life as a whole. Because what she also told was, pursuing PhD abroad is a very enriching experience overall, not exactly in terms of research. So if you see this aspect, I would definitely like look outside itself. But even there are a lot of places to explore in India, but the potential of research and the institutes which I want to look, I'm still not at that point to decide between these two things. But I have a leniency towards going out.
Okay.
Based on to enrich my personal experiences, not in other aspects.
So let me give you a brief of it. So
Yeah.
everything has its own pros and cons.
Correct.
In India, we have some of the most elite research institutes which are renowned and known by the quality of research.
Yeah.
Either it is publication or the fundamental research they are doing, because then it takes a lot of years to publish. But the quality of work is absolutely phenomenal, as you
Right.
also have tasted at IISc, because what else, there are not many institutes or universities which can beat IISc in any way.
Yeah, right.
Now, the second thing people do talk about at our Researcher Celebrity platform, we have spoke to many people who just moved after their PhD or joined PhD outside. And it's not only the cultural shock which gives them problem. In India, at least most of the boys are not, ready to do everything by themselves, which includes cooking,
Okay, yeah.
every other thing.
Right.
So they are always on the video call with their families. But okay, now what should I do? These are
Right.
the things when we always say that you should prepare for yourself. If you think this is your passion, this is your path, you really want to follow it, yes. But then there is always the biggest thing is if anything good or bad happens back in India, the time you have to run. I have seen one of my personal, very close friend. He was not able to join the funeral of his dad because he was in
Right.
United States at that point of time and couldn't make it. But these are the things which are important in the long run. But when you are, in that stage that, okay, what is the most important thing? Okay, let's go out. Yes, absolutely. The quality of research, if given opportunity in India, there are a lot of it. But
Right.
obviously, and the one part that you mentioned about the traveling, the conferences, research gives you that freedom to travel the entire world.
Right.
All things, everything covered. And that is probably, sorry, that is one thing which I always feel is the thing that if you want to fly, research gives you wings, and it literally takes you. You don't have to do anything. Just by doing your research experiments, just by making some sense of your experiments, you can travel wherever you want. So this was about all the research part. Now let's talk about the role of family and friends in general as for a student. If we can say that, because now we know you have tasted research and you have a lot of firm heading about that this is something which you want to do, that for the last couple of minutes, if you can share your thoughts about the role of family and friends in life of a researcher.
Yeah. So I would definitely say we cannot, we cannot thrive in research or else in academia without the support of family and friends. Because I've seen my mentors, working day and night, and their family is there for them at every point of time. Even my family was there for me at every point of time, because it's very unconventional that a student of just after bachelor's want to do something to explore in terms of even academic gap, or say, or else in terms of finances, whatever it may be. They had supported me in each and every aspect of my life, especially my mom and dad and my brother. They were there at every point of time. Even my father, he used to come and meet me in the middle whenever he used to get some time to kind of talk to me, or else to understand what's going with me at that point of time. So he supported me in each and every aspect. And I would definitely say family is a very important motivating factor, because if they are there for you, I mean, at the end of the day, when you go home with failed experiments or a successful experiment or a successful day, whatever it is, whenever you go back home, at least there are a few people who will be definitely thinking about you, and it's good for you, and everything they can provide each and everything whatever possible from their end. So I definitely say it's a very important motivating factor. It's like a catalyst which can fast hasten the reaction, and ultimately leads to something else. So yeah, this is my notion about family's role in research.
No,
Very, very important.
no, it is. So now with this, we'll say to all the audience that in this conversation with Rakshit, we have learned so much, and I'm sure that you might be, getting more clarity if you are the one who are thinking that shall I do PhD or not. If you think you need more time, the path which Rakshit has taken is probably the best path. If you get the opportunity, if you want Empowering Science Foundation to help you in getting internship, because we have a special program where we help people who are coming from rural backgrounds in India where they don't have a lot of resources and they really want to get this exposure in industry or in academic labs. We are there to support you. And with this, I will say to all the audience that stay tuned for more researcher celebrity videos. And thanks to Rakshit. Rakshit, it was a pleasure talking to you. And I would only say that good luck. Keep
Yeah.
your head strong. There is a good, nice, bumpy road ahead of you, but the accomplishment, the achievements, the content it gives you, speaking for personal experiences, it is mind blowing. Nothing can touch it. Good luck, Rakshit.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much for having me in this session.